Don't you just hate it when the enemy starts to push you and you have to just stand there and try to ace them? Well, good news. All the cool kids are doing this new thing called staying alive instead of fighting everyone all the time. We know, it's a crazy idea. Let's check out how they manage it. Hey guys, my name's Matt and welcome back to another video brought to you by ProGuides. Defensive positioning, or repositioning, is the name of the game today, and we're going to be breaking down how to reposition defensively, where to reposition yourself, and what utility you can be using to ensure you stay alive and make it back to safety. And yes, we do care about your safety. Just because you respawn next round doesn't mean we don't care. So let's start off by looking at Inferno, specifically a long. You'll be holding at the long corner for any mid-aggression. Your main objective is to defend a long, but also to fall back to site safely to regroup with your team. But quite honestly, just trying to stay alive is vital. When the terrorists begin pushing, or show presence towards bracket, throw a Molotov down towards the A-long corner and retreat to arch. The Molotov will either greatly delay their push, or if they do decide to continue holding their W key, they're going to take a massive amount of damage. But let's be real here, they're not going to push through it. I mean, fire does burn after all. You can also throw down a smoke or a flashbang instead of a Molotov. But funnily enough, smokes don't do damage to your enemies and smokes aren't a brick wall, so they're more than likely going to push through it if they have momentum. A flashbang can definitely delay their push, or give you enough of a gap to escape into safety. Now you're going to be holding arch at least for a beat. If you take more shots, or gain information through the T stepping, quickly fall back to library. From the library position, you have the choice of either holding the angle so they're unable to cross to the site, or you can flash the entrance to library and peek for further information. You also have an opportunity to ask for a teammate from site or pit to flash a long for you. Granted, it's not that hard to forget that CS is a team game. If the coast is clear, push to moto to regroup with your team and continue to hold a long from a safe position. There is a second option when holding middle from the A-long corner. Once again, if any presence is shown towards mid, you can use your utility again, a Molotov, flashbang or smoke. But this time, instead of retreating to arch, you can fall back to moto. But doing it this way comes with a lot more risks. Running from A-long corner to moto takes a lot more time than it does retreating to arch. So, if an enemy does decide to push your utility on long, it's more than likely you're going to get caught without any cover. I'd only advise doing this if you have information from your teammates that they're taking heavy contact from apartments and short. This way, you know that you're not going to get rushed by 4 enemies pushing from long. Once again, you're now in a good defensive position at moto to continue holding a long and to defend the A bomb site. Let's move on to Overpass, specifically bathrooms towards A. You'll be holding at the front of toilets towards divider, spotting for any players towards party. From this position, we're going to go over 3 different ways you can fall back, one for every occasion. When the terrorists begin pushing, or show presence towards party, throw down a smoke at the front of toilets. The smoke will massively delay their push into bathrooms, as it's pretty unlikely they're going to charge blindly through your smoke. You can also throw a flashbang instead of a smoke, but it's not going to be as safe as a smoke grenade for falling back. At the end of the day, you are trying to reduce your risk of death while gaining early information. If you haven't got a smoke, well, then that's your fault. Don't be a dummy, just buy a smoke. Our first and most straightforward option is just to retreat and simply reposition back onto the A site. You're likely to do this if you're alone towards bathrooms, or if you're being overwhelmed by a fast and aggressive push. Falling back to the A site and jump spotting for info is always a good tactic, and quite honestly it reduces your risk of being killed rather than just from normally peeking for information. Your second option is you can reposition at the corner at the back of toilets towards the A bomb site. When you take contact towards party, or out middle, you should be able to yet again put a smoke grenade down and sprint away to safety, to then hold a defensive, yet aggressive position at the back of toilets. If you find that you're being overwhelmed, or the T's are still pushing, throw down a Molotov at divider, or at the toilet entrance where you originally threw the smoke. This will further delay their push, and allow you to retreat to the A bomb site safely. Unless you get stuck on the trash can in bathrooms, you do have to make sure your movement isn't trash too. Your third option is to defend from Divider. After putting down your smoke at the front of toilets, once you've taken contact, you're now able to retreat to Divider to hold any players swinging wide or coming out from top connector. But be warned, Divider is not a safe position to defend from. In fact, if you do go Divider, I'm fairly sure you have a death wish, you absolute nutter. I would heavily advise only playing Divider if you have a close teammate to support you, with a double peek towards Banana. Once your smoke dissipates at the front of toilets, throw a Molotov at Banana and fall back to safety on the A bomb site along with your teammate. You can also have your teammate throw a Molotov or smoke towards Divider. So there's an example of 3 totally different ways you can fall back from one area. It's entirely up to you to decide which you think is the best one for the job. Let's move on to another example, this time with Dust 2's A-Long position. Hopefully you're aware, but controlling A-Long on Dust 2's CT side is extremely important so that you can deny early map control for your opponent. There are a few different techniques with how you can choose to play it. Similar to Overpass, there are 3 different successful ways you can fall back, one for each situation. But first, let's dive in and have a look at the utility. If you find yourself under heavy pressure and needing to reposition, throw down a Molotov, flashbang or smoke grenade at the corner of the wall, which opens up an opportunity for you to fall back. I would heavily advise using a smoke grenade in this situation, as using a Molotov is only going to obscure your opponent's vision slightly. It's not like the Molotov covers the whole of A-Long, they can just peek behind it. A flashbang can also be pretty successful, but just make sure you're throwing a decent pop flash, and not some silver matchmaking rank flashbang where you violently launch it wherever your mouse takes you. Your first option, after using your utility, preferably a smoke, is to just sprint back to the A-bomb site towards default. But be warned, doing this is the riskiest option and is more likely in resulting with you ending up dead. Although that's probably no change for you. Alright, sorry, that was toxic. I'm going to say this is fairly obvious as to why, but just to shed some light on this for some of you confused faces out there, running directly back to the site takes a lot longer than it would for you to fall back to, say, CT spawn. It's doable, but just be aware of the risks. Your second option, although totally mental, is to reposition back towards car or in the cubby at car. Why am I calling it mental? Well, yeah, it solves your short-term problem of being pushed, but you're now backed into a corner, with no way out and no other option than to once again fight for your life. Plus, it's not exactly difficult or uncommon for a terrorist to just simply throw a Molotov towards car. Well, now you either swing and face being mowed down, or you burn. Having said this, repositioning towards car can potentially pay off. It's mainly there if you want to stay in the thick of the action, but it can also be pretty successful if you haven't been spotted. Your third option, and best option might I add, is just to run back to CT spawn. It's the middle ground. It takes less time than running to site, more time than running to car, but gives you further positions to retreat to. You can even wing a pop flash at this wall, not a silver flashbang, and re-peek for info or for a kill. Plus from CT, you can always hide at elevator, or you can just run back towards CT spawn and hold the cross. Now, let's look at one final example. This time, we're going to be looking at Nuke's B ramp. Now, Nuke's B ramp is a bit of a different animal. I mean, not literally, the ramp isn't alive. Anyway, ramp on Nuke can be really difficult to defend, but that's where defensive positioning and good utility comes into play again. When presence is shown towards radio room or ramp, throw down a Molotov, smoke grenade, or flashbang at the entrance to ramp. I'm gonna always suggest using a Molotov in this position, because the entrance to ramp is a massive choke point due to the size of the entrance. A flashbang or smoke grenade isn't really gonna deny a push as effectively as a Molotov. From here, you have 3 main positions that you can fall back to. The first position is behind the box at the back of ramp. Now, this is kind of the same situation as falling back to car on Dust 2 that we went over earlier. It is incredibly risky, as, well, you have nowhere to fall back from, and it's kind of a one and done spot type deal. But it can be effective if your aim is on point, from all the aim training you were doing earlier. Your second option is you can just simply hold your S key and drop down onto ramp. I mean, technically you can use your mouse to turn around and hold your W key instead, but let's not complicate this. Repositioning towards ramp is your best choice. From here, you're able to safely use any further utility you have to delay their push and for your teammates to rotate and assist. You have so many options here. You can defend from below ramp, from shadow, from T-con, from double doors, window. I mean, the options are endless. Now, your third and final option is just to dive back into hell. No, I'm not talking about hell with Satan and a pit of fire, but rather towards under heaven by ladder. So this will mainly work if you haven't been spotted or your opponents aren't pushing yet. Sprinting back to hell is seriously dangerous. For a large part of the run back, you're entirely exposed from the ramp entrance. But the positive thing about getting back there successfully is if you're being overwhelmed, it's really easy to fall back up towards heaven, or just simply hold the ramp angle for an extra frag. Or 2, or 3, or 4. Or you can just ace it. It depends how crispy you're feeling today. And that's it, guys. Defensive repositioning just requires you to actively think about where you're able to fall back to safely with the assistance of utility. If you're on a different map, or at a different part of a map, just think, where are your defensive positions you're able to fall back to? Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Matt from ProGuides, and I hope you found this video enjoyable and or useful. Remember, for more tricks, guides and tips like this, be sure to visit ProGuides.com. Until next time, happy fragging!